sharing durian ASEAN.
ASEAN Dailies. First and the foremost news from Southeast Asia.
Hi, this is Arlene.
Good morning, this is Grace.
And you are with us on our ASEAN Daily. Today is a very beautiful Wednesday morning.
Yes, even though there was a bit heavy traffic on the way to
As
office.
usual.
Yeah, I guess the people are getting busier before CNNY.
Yeah. And before we start the show, I just want to say that have a great journey to your workplace. If you're already on your workplace, have a nice cup of coffee and don't forget to listen to our ASEAN Daily. And this time we will bring you on the political and current affairs side of Southeast Asia. Hi, you're back again with Arlene and on the news. Malaysian banker Nazir Razak concerned about country's financial future.
Yes, when it comes to Malaysian financial future, of course, starting from the public, we've got lots of things to say. And he also expressed his concern on his Instagram, social media.
First of all, I didn't even know he has an Instagram. That's kind of cool.
I think a lot of politicians nowadays, they sort of started using a lot of social media, Twitters, Instagram.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's very cool way of connecting to people.
Now I feel like the older ones because I have a Facebook account, but I do not really have an Instagram. I thought Instagram is for the millennials, the Gen Y. But now even a banker, the brother of Najib Razak, is using it. I'm thinking of having it as well.
See, that's a way to do it. Learning technology is not so bad after all. But anyways, going back to topic where, public is very concerned when it comes to the future of Malaysia, especially the financial status and then other areas as well. And of course, he himself also expressed his concern over the financial future in Malaysia. And of course, we are very aware that but Malaysia has a lot of debt, and especially with a lot of controversial issues that we've been having so far. So One Malaysian Development, the company, and also other a lot of scandalous issues that we are having. Of course, this is a serious indication that Malaysia has been holding in around in this region, basically.
Yes. And because of that, he is actually terrified that the future of Malaysia will be a very negative one. This is reported in the Bloomberg recently, where the future of Malaysia, quote unquote, terrifies him. He said that a day after the Swiss Attorney General's office probe on the debt-ridden government investment fund, which is the 1MDB, reveals serious indications that about 4 billion may have been misappropriated from the state companies in Southeast Asian nation.
Right.
But I think beyond that, he's worried that all this negative news has been taken away from the real issue that Malaysia is facing right now. Of course, we have a lot of corruption case, but according to Nazir Razak, what he is concerned really is the fact that the future of Malaysia's economy may be impacted because of the negative political environment that we are having right now.
Of course, it will definitely impact. Just by looking at the current situations, it has impacted our nation so much in a different ways. And then there are a lot of public complaints and concerns over this. And the Najibs has been receiving a lot of criticism over this issue. And of course, coming from him, Nazir Razak, that he has expressed a concern, it's another sort of mark that or sign that it needs to be changed. The nation whole when it comes to corruption and money politics in Malaysia.
In fact, the funny thing is, which is not, I have to applaud him for being very, very in tune with the latest pop culture. He actually put the photo of the HBO's Game of Thrones as his Instagram post backdrop, the photo backdrop. And I think it was kind of cheeky for him to do that. It kind of gave a signal that the whole political climate that we have in Malaysia right now is similar to a web of issues that are interconnected with each other. It's not just about the prime minister being corrupted. It's a whole range of problems that is affecting the Malaysia's economy.
Yeah, exactly. But when you think about it, right, there are so many other people outside externally who are aware of this problem that we hold here in Malaysia. It's a bit a shame, that people from outside, they're the ones who are really into investigation, where here we are like hush hush about all these issues here. But it will be very wise that as a Malaysian banker Nazir Razak also expressed his concern internally and also being honest about the country's financial future. That is a way to connect to people, that people really feel that, yeah, this is a problem. We gotta have a wiser steps to make it forward and to improve this situation better.
Yeah. And he added that, just to give a clearer picture of what he is seeing the situation right now.
Right.
He said that the Prime Minister said his exoneration by appending that the Saudi donation probe was quote-unquote an unnecessary distraction for Malaysia. Added with Nazir Razak, chairman of CIMB Group, that the parallels with Game of Thrones continue.
Right.
He just can't see how our institution can recover, how the political atmospheres can become less toxic, and how the international reputation, and that's the most important one, can be repaired. Because a lot of people, when they look at Malaysia right now, they look at a country that is filled with corruption, and of course corruption indicators are not really good for any country's future's economic health. So,
and talking about corruption, right? Malaysia scored worsen in Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index for 2015. Wow. And it is, like we mentioned, it is quite shameful.
It is. Yeah. And I want to end this piece of news with, that our chief Bank Negara will be stepping down soon.
Yes.
And this is also not a healthy indicator, because she's stepping down amid such a huge corruption scandal that is happening in this country. People will start questioning, will this lead to more political woes in Malaysia?
Right.
So we don't know. We just have to wait and see, just like watching the next episode of Game of Thrones. Anyway, the next news. Indonesia probe Islamic State leaders' contacts from behind bars.
And then, the Indonesian government mentioned that it is investigating how this imprisoned leader of the Islamic State group, Indonesia, has been communicating with his followers from behind bars, which sounds quite frightful. And one of the people, his name is Aman Abdurrahman, who is serving a 9-year sentence for his involvement in the terror activities, but he continues to lure these prospective recruits into joining the group, and is likely to communicating with the leaders in Syria. And this is, of course, according to the government who has done the investigation.
And what we are seeing right now is Indonesian Minister of Security Affairs, Luhut Panjaitan, say that the government is investigating on his communication pattern with Bahrum Naim, the alleged mastermind of the recent Jakarta blast that killed 7. And according to Indonesian media, he has been in Raqqa, the IS stronghold in Syria, since early 2015. What I think Indonesian government is really scratching their head is, the guy, Abdul Rahman, is behind bar, and we all know there's no internet connection in the prison. There's no way he is able to communicate, because he is not even allowed to bring his cell phone to visit his clients at the prison. So how did he's able to influence the young guy which bombed Jakarta recently to do all this really horrendous act?
I guess we can only speculate what has happened, and from if that he was related to the recent incident in Jakarta. In prison, it's totally different world. The communication system, even without the cell phone, you can still communicate via a word of mouth or via people. That that is the another scary part. Perhaps the government really, really needs to think of the alternative ways. Then what are the ways that these people have been using so far? And then there are the people who are related to ISIS, and there are really, really smart people there. So they may have lots of ways to to carry out their work.
According to these news feeds, apparently they maintain a strong update about the situation via a blog. I thought blog is soon 2005. I guess people are bringing it back. So he has been blogging apparently behind the prison bar. And he is not just another, extremist. He is an influential Salafi extremist scholar and Arabic linguist. His writings are available on his website. He has been in prison since his involvement with the IS fighting in Aceh, and according to media reports as well, his follower has been accused of involving in several terror plots, and he's the mastermind. So I don't know how he does it, but he seems to be, like you say, quite smart.
But then you mentioned about blog, right? And it's very old kind of trend.
Yeah.
But maybe that's why he's using it, because not many people are using. I'm just trying to think there are ways.
But I have a feeling there might be someone inside the cell that probably help him to maintain his blog. He would just say, out loud, like, hey, this week I'm going to write about this thing. Can you type it for me?
Perhaps, yeah, you could be right.
So the next news, we move on to Brunei. So we know that Brunei right now is not doing well, especially with the plunging oil prices globally. Even Malaysia right now is not doing well. But energy security is definitely on the agenda during the Vice President of India's visit to Brunei. Observing the India's Look East policy has been consciously developed over time, and Vice President Hamid Ansari hoped that his visit to Brunei and Thailand later on would help forge stronger ties and improve the country's standing in the region of Southeast Asia.
So it is, having this Look East policy that India has been holding, like you mentioned, it's been developing over time, and then they have been having meetings and also agreements on certain policies such as defense cooperation, health and education. Those will be already signed, and also the discussion will be held on the cooperation in civil aviation, space, trade, and even investment, beside all those hydrocarbons and information and communication. But having India's Look East policy there, they will also looking into improving its energy security by tying up with oil and gas that the Brunei has been having for setting up the fertilizer plant on its shores, and it's a way to that it had done already with Oman earlier.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a great thing for Brunei because it seems like even with the oil slump, there's a future in energy security. And India is a growing market. They need all the oil they can get to engine their machinery. But I think the most important thing is they want to maintain a stronger relationship between both countries.
Right.
We didn't hear about Brunei, but it's actually, they have formed old friendship between Brunei and also India.
Yeah.
They call it Ballet Lock. I don't know whether I pronounce it rightly, but it's an old friendship. Observing that while Sultan of Brunei has made 3 bilateral visits to India from India sides, but there has no bilateral visit of a dignitary yet from the Indian side. So Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, had visited the country for the ASEAN India summit. Happened recently in 2013 on the East Asia summit. Those were multilateral events.
I see.
So with this event, or this particular visit, it shows that India is reconnecting with their old friends.
I think that's a very good step that they are reviving their friendship here. And also talking about Brunei's, they're having the rich in the oil and natural gas. It's very interesting that how Brunei is also looking into other nations like Japan and South Korea for its sale of natural gas. So they are really proposing using this gas locally by setting up a fertilizer plant here, and having the two good relationship between Brunei and India. Definitely that could have a very strong political ally, and also even developing further, and as the India also served, Brunei also served as India's country coordinator in ASEAN for about 2 years already.
Yeah. So in the future, we will see a lot of great news. In fact, they even have an initiative to have a Make in India. So the last news we reported was Make in ASEAN. So everyone wants to be the country of origin for making great products, hopefully.
Yes.
So the last piece of news for today's ASEAN Daily on the political and current issues, current affairs side is Vietnam. Of course, South China Sea has always been a contentious issue that never changed. And as state party to the United Nations Convention of the Law on the Sea, Vietnam respect the right of innocent passage. In this case, he's mentioning the U.S. operation in Vietnam that involved one large ship container through the territory seaside of the South China Sea, and Vietnam Foreign Minister definitely supported the US in this case. So it is actually challenging Beijing's sovereignty over the contentious sea waters.
Exactly. I mean, I really want to hear, what the whole public thinks about this incident. Not incident, this occurrence over and over again. We are very well aware of how China has been aggressive. I don't even go deeper than that. But having U.S. help to Vietnam, and then being U.S. as a gigantic country, as well as China is also a huge country. If these two countries come together for this disputed South China Sea, I wonder what will happen. Is there a way to step forward, or is it the sort of like having these two big country to sort of having more tensions?
I think it will have more tension right now, because another news that I found out, China is actually not happy about it. In fact, it urged to get tough with the US over the particular ship that I mentioned.
Right.
It's actually the USS Curtis Wilbert, which has sailed by. It's a US Navy's guided missile destroyer, USS Curtis Wilbert. The American warship had sailed within the 12 nautical miles of Triton Island, part of the Paracel Islands in the South China Sea. And to them, okay, it's fine if it's the Philippines and Vietnam, because they are still, quarreling over the piece of sea.
Correct.
But for the US, they have no right to even meddle into the issue. That's why it angers the Chinese a lot.
But then I think also China is getting angrier because they know what US can do if they are really willing to help other nations regarding South China Sea. Maybe they're a bit afraid, or maybe they're a bit scared. But then you have a point that US, after all, has nothing to do with this region if you just look at that perspective.
And another perspective is, according to Lee Hong Hiap, a visiting research fellow with the ISIS Yusuf Isha Institute, he said that the Chinese believe they already occupied the Paracels Islands, and of course from the Vietnam and of the Philippine side, they see the Paracels belong to the Southeast Asian territory. So that's a huge, question mark. What belongs to whom?
Of course there will come with a lot of disagreements and even the arguments we can already foresee. But after all, this issue, South China Sea, we've been talking about this for years and years. Hopefully there is some common ground that we can meet, all of us, including US as well.
I think the biggest problem now is you see a lot of countries within Southeast Asia, they are taking their own national stance on the South China Sea issue, and it's not a good thing, because then you see countries like Cambodia siding China, and then you see countries like Vietnam and Philippines siding the US. I think it's better that ASEAN has its own voice in this issue.
For sure.
And of course for China, they would rather deal with ASEAN than countries like than the US, obviously. Anyway, that's all from our news today. We will continue in a bit for our news on arts and culture, as well as trends in Southeast Asia.
So stay tuned.